The dead had always been kinder to Jon Snow than the living. They never paused when he entered a room. They never lowered their voices, never looked from his gray eyes to Lord Eddard's face, and wondered whose dishonor had given him life. The Stone Kings beneath Winterfell received him without judgment. They sat in their ancient seats with iron swords laid across their knees, wolves at their feet, and shadows gathered in the hollows where their eyes had once been painted. Jon was 8 years old when he learned that the crypts went deeper than anyone living remembered. He had not gone below to seek secrets. He had gone because Robb had struck him. It had been an accident, or so Robb claimed. They had been sparring in the yard with wooden swords, while Theon Greyjoy laughed from the rail and shouted advice neither boy wanted. Jon had slipped in the mud. Robb's blade had caught him across the mouth, splitting his lip. The pain mattered less than the laughter. It was not cruel laughter, not truly. But Jon heard something in it that Robb had never intended. Bastard. The word was never far away. It crouched beneath every kindness and sharpened every insult. Jon had left the yard without answering. He washed the blood from his chin at the kitchen pump, ignored old Nan calling after him, and slipped through the door leading into the crypts. He took a candle from the wall, although he knew he would be punished for it, and descended until the sounds of Winterfell faded into silence. The pale direwolf pup followed him. The litter had been found only weeks before, half frozen beside their dead mother on the road from the Wolfswood. 5 pups for 5 true-born Stark children, Theon had said. Then Jon had found the 6th apart from the others, white as new snow and silent as moonlight. Ghost was still small enough to carry beneath one arm, though he disliked being carried. He padded after Jon without whining, his red eyes glimmering whenever the candle flame bent. "Go back," Jon whispered. Ghost continued after him. Jon passed the tomb of Brandon Stark, the brother his father rarely spoke of, and then that of Lyanna Stark, whose stone likeness had a gentler face than the others. Fresh blue winter roses sometimes appeared in her hands, though Jon never saw who placed them there. He stopped before her. "Did they call you names?" he asked the statue. The crypt gave no answer. He wiped his bleeding lip with his sleeve. A drop fell onto the stone at Lyanna's feet. Ghost's head turned sharply. The pup stared beyond the tomb, toward the rear wall of the crypt. His ears rose. A faint sound came from the darkness, not the scratching of a rat or the settling of old stone, but a deep, slow murmur, as though the earth itself breathed beneath Winterfell. Jon lifted the candle. "What is it?" Ghost slipped around Lyanna's statue and vanished behind it. Jon followed, squeezing between the tomb and the wall. There should have been nothing there. He had explored the crypts often enough to know every stair and alcove permitted to the children. Yet behind Lyanna's tomb lay a narrow cleft concealed by darkness. One of the foundation stones had shifted, opening a passage barely broad enough for a boy. Warm air flowed from it. That was strange. The crypts were cold even in summer, but this breath smelled of wet stone and smoke. Ghost moved ahead. Jon turned sideways and followed. The passage sloped downward. Ancient roots pierced the ceiling. Water gleamed on black rock. The candle guttered, and Jon nearly retreated, but Ghost's pale shape remained visible a few paces ahead. The tunnel opened into a natural cavern. Steam drifted from pools cut deep into the earth. Their surfaces shivered, though no wind touched them. The stone beneath Jon's boots was warm enough to feel through the leather. Mineral deposits streaked the walls in rust red, white, and glittering black. At the far end stood a door. It was not a wooden door such as those used in Winterfell, nor an iron gate like the entrance to the crypts. It was a single slab of dark stone fitted so perfectly into the cavern wall that Jon might have missed it if Ghost had not gone to sit before it. A carving had been worked into the stone. A direwolf faced a dragon. Between them grew a weirwood tree, its roots wrapped around both creatures. Jon stared. He knew the direwolf of House Stark. He knew dragons only from old Nan's tales and the painted shields in Maester Luwin's books. The last dragons had died long ago, their bones preserved in King's Landing until Robert Baratheon took the throne. He touched the carving. The stone was hot. A thin seam appeared around the door. Dust spilled from above, and something clicked within the wall. Ghost backed away as the slab shifted inward with a groan that rolled through the cavern. Jon should have run. Instead, he raised the candle and entered. The hidden chamber was small and round. Its walls had been scorched black. Broken chains hung from iron rings, though whatever they had once restrained was long gone. In the center stood a low pedestal surrounded by ancient ash. Upon the pedestal rested an egg. At first, Jon mistook it for polished stone. It was larger than a swan's egg, though not so large as the dragon eggs described in some of Maester Luwin's books. Its scales were black, but not a single shade of black. When Jon moved the candle, silver shimmered beneath the surface. Dark red veins wound between the scales like frozen lightning. Ghost crept closer and sniffed. "Don't," Jon said. The pup sneezed and sat down. Jon reached toward the egg. Heat pressed against his palm before he touched it. The blood on his split lip had begun to flow again, and when he bent over the pedestal, a drop struck the shell. The chamber seemed to inhale. Every candle flame in Winterfell might have gone out at once. Jon's small flame turned blue. A pulse moved beneath his fingertips. He jerked back, knocking the candle from his hand. It fell into the ash but did not die. Blue light spread across the floor, illuminating marks scratched into the stone. Circles, stars, and words in a language Jon did not know. The egg trembled. Ghost growled. Jon stared until his own heartbeat became indistinguishable from the slow beating inside the shell. Once, twice, a third time. Something living slept within. He wrapped the egg in his cloak and lifted it from the pedestal. The heat should have burned him. Instead, it sank through his clothes and into his chest, easing the ache behind his ribs that had lived there for as long as he could remember. The blue flame vanished. Darkness swallowed the chamber. Jon ran .key. He carried the egg through the steaming cavern, up the narrow tunnel, and behind Lyanna's tomb. Ghost kept pace. By the time Jon returned to the upper crypts, his candle had become an ordinary yellow flame again, though it burned lower than before. Voices echoed from the stair. "Jon? Robb died." Jon froze. "Father will have us both beaten if you've gone below the old kings," Robb called. "I told him you slipped. I never said you ran off." Jon looked at the bundle in his cloak. There was no place to hide it. Ghost darted past him and bounded toward Robb's voice. Jon followed more slowly, clutching the egg against his chest. Robb appeared between two statues, cheeks red from the cold. Relief crossed his face before he quickly replaced it with annoyance. "You're bleeding. You struck me. I said I was sorry. You said it after laughing." Theon laughed. "You did too." Robb lowered his eyes. "Only because you landed in horse dung." Jon almost smiled despite himself. Then Robb noticed the shape beneath his cloak. "What have you got?" "Nothing." "That isn't nothing." Jon backed away. "Swear you won't tell." Robb's curiosity overcame every other feeling. "Tell what?" "Swear." "On what?" Jon looked at the Stone Kings. "On Father's life." Robb's expression changed. Oaths were not games, not beneath the eyes of the dead. "I swear on Father's life." Jon opened the cloak. For several heartbeats, Robb said nothing. Then he whispered, "Is that what I think it is?" "I don't know. It's a dragon egg. You've never seen one. Neither have you. I found it behind Aunt Lyanna's tomb." Robb reached out, hesitated, and touched one black scale. His hand snapped back. "It's hot." Jon nodded. "Dragon eggs are stone. This one has a heartbeat." Robb stared at him. Jon pressed Robb's palm against the shell. They waited. The pulse came, slow and heavy. Robb went pale. "We have to tell Father." "No. We have to. They'll take it away. He might know what to do. He'll send it to King Robert." Robb opened his mouth, then closed it. They both knew Robert Baratheon's hatred for dragons. Songs told how he had crushed Prince Rhaegar's chest with his warhammer at the Trident. Men praised him for ending the rule of the Dragon Kings. "What will you do with it?" Robb asked. Jon looked down at the egg. He did not know why the thought came to him. Perhaps it had been waiting since the moment his blood touched the shell. "Keep it warm." Robb glanced toward the stairs. "Where?" Jon thought of the hidden chamber, the hot springs, and the carved weirwood whose roots bound wolf and dragon together. "Beneath Winterfell," he said. That night the boys returned after the castle slept. They brought blankets, lamp oil, and 3 pieces of mutton stolen from the kitchen because Robb believed a newly hatched dragon would be hungry. Jon carried the egg beneath his tunic. Its heat never lessened. They placed it in a hollow beside the hottest pool where steam gathered beneath the roots. Ghost curled around it, though the warmth made him pant. For 6 nights, nothing happened. On the 7th, Jon dreamed. He stood in a field of snow beneath a sky without stars. A woman waited beside a bed of blue roses. He could not see her face, but he knew she was crying. Behind her rose 3 mountains of flame. The first burned gold. The second burned green. The third burned black, and from that darkness came 2 red eyes. The woman reached toward him. "Promise me," she said. Jon awoke on the cavern floor. Robb slept nearby, wrapped in a fur cloak. Ghost stood over the egg, every hair raised along his back. A crack had appeared in the shell. Jon crawled closer. The crack spread with a sound like ice breaking on a winter lake. A piece of black shell fell away. Smoke curled from within. Robb woke. "Why? What?" Jon covered his mouth. The shell split from top to bottom. A claw emerged, small and black, tipped with silver. Another claw followed. The creature fought its way free, tearing scales apart with a soft, furious chirping. Steam whirled around it. When at last it stumbled from the ruined egg, it was no larger than Ghost. Its body was black, though silver ran along the edges of its wings and down the ridge of its spine. Its eyes were not red, as Jon had expected, but a deep purple so dark they seemed almost black. The dragon turned its head. It looked at Robb, then at Ghost, then at Jon. Something opened inside Jon's mind. It was not a word or a voice. It was hunger, fear, heat, and the instinctive certainty of recognition. The dragon crossed the stones on unsteady legs and climbed into his lap. Jon did not breathe. Its scales were hot enough to steam against his damp clothes. It pressed its narrow head beneath his chin, closed its eyes, and made a rumbling sound like a contented cat. Robb stared. Ghost lay down beside them. "What will you call him?" Robb whispered. Jon looked at the ashes covering the cavern floor and at the thin smoke rising from the dragon's nostrils. "Ember." The dragon opened one purple eye. Far above them, somewhere within Winterfell, the heart tree shuddered though there was no wind. For 3 days, the secret belonged to 2 boys, a direwolf and a dragon. On the 4th, Ember set fire to Robb's sleeve. The flame was small and brief, more smoke than true fire, but Robb yelped loudly enough for half the castle to hear. He beat the sparks out against the cavern wall while Jon tried to soothe the hatchling, who hissed and snapped at the air, offended by the commotion. Neither boy heard the footsteps until Lord Eddard Stark spoke from the passage. "Move away from it." Jon turned. His father stood at the entrance with ice drawn in both hands. The great sword filled the narrow chamber with pale steel. Ned's face was not angry. Anger, Jon understood. This was something worse. Terror. Robb stepped between the blade and the dragon. "Father, wait." "Robb, it won't hurt us. It burned you." It was frightened. Ember spread his wings. They were small, translucent at their edges, and trembling with strain. Smoke escaped his nostrils. Ghost crouched before Jon and bared his teeth at the Lord of Winterfell. Ned's grip tightened. "Jon," he said. "Come to me." Jon wrapped both arms around Ember. "You'll kill him. Come here." "No." The word echoed through the cavern. Ned Stark was not a man children refused. Even Robb stared at Jon in shock. Ember felt Jon's fear. Heat surged through the dragon's body. The silver lines along his wings glowed faintly, and the air filled with the smell of scorched stone. Ned lowered ice. He did it slowly, as one might lower a blade before a cornered wolf. "I will not kill it," he said. Jon did not move. "On my honor." Robb released a breath. Jon knew his father's honor was not a small thing. Men crossed kingdoms trusting it. Even a bastard boy could trust it. He loosened his arms. Ember climbed onto his shoulder, winding his tail around Jon's neck. His claws pricked through the cloth, but Jon did not complain. Ned placed ice upon the floor. "Show me where you found the egg." Jon led him through the hidden door. The old chamber had changed since the hatching. The ash around the pedestal had been scattered, and fragments of black shell lay everywhere. Ned picked one up in a gloved hand. His face hardened. "Who else knows?" "Only us," Robb said quickly. "Theon?" "No." "Your mother?" Robb shook his head. "Maester Luwin?" "No." Ned looked at Jon. "Has anyone seen you come below?" "Old Nan may have seen us take blankets." "Old Nan sees everything and remembers half of it." Ned placed the shell fragment in his pouch. "You will speak of this to no one. Not Arya, not Bran, not your mother. No one." Robb bristled at the distinction. "Jon's mother, you mean?" Ned's gaze flickered toward Jon and then away. "I meant Lady Catelyn." Jon had heard enough silences to know when words concealed a wound. Ned studied the carving on the door. His fingers traced the direwolf, the dragon, and the pale stone tree between them. "This was made before Aegon's conquest," he murmured. "How do you know?" Robb asked. "The crown on the wolf's head. The kings of winter abandoned that style after Torrhen Stark knelt." "Why is there a dragon?" Ned did not answer. He entered the chamber and examined every scorched wall, rusted ring, and broken chain. He seemed to grow older with each discovery. Jon watched him. "Did you know it was here?" "No." "Did it Aunt Lyanna?" Ned went still. "I found the passage behind her tomb," Jon continued. "There were blue roses in my dream." Ned turned so quickly that Robb stepped back. "What dream?" Jon told him. "The field of snow, the faceless woman, the mountains of flame," the words he had heard. "Promise me." Ned's face lost all color. He took Jon by the shoulders. His hands were gentle, but they shook. "If you dream of her again, you tell me. Do you understand? Who is she?" "I don't know." It was the first time Jon knew his father had lied to him. Not suspected. Knew. Ember hissed. Ned released Jon and stood. "The creature cannot remain here." Jon's heart lurched. "You swore." "I swore not to kill it. I said nothing of keeping it beneath my home." "It hatched for him," Robb said. "It is a dragon." "It's Ember," Jon insisted. Ned looked at the hatchling. Dragons do not remain hatchlings. They become larger than horses, larger than houses. They burn fields, castles, men. "Deerwolves kill men," Jon said. "Not by the thousand." "He won't." "You cannot know that." Jon felt Ember's fear rising with his own. The dragon's claws tightened. A bead of blood appeared where one pierced Jon's skin. Ned saw it. "Does it obey you?" Jon swallowed. Sometimes. Commanded to go to Robb. Jon looked at the dragon. He imagined Ember climbing down, crossing the floor, and going to Robb. Nothing happened. He whispered, "Go." Ember pushed his head beneath Jon's jaw. Ned's mouth tightened. Again. Jon tried harder. He pictured Robb. He pictured the stones between them. He tried to make the command into something more than a word. "Go." Ember raised his head. He looked toward Robb, spread his wings, and leapt. For one breath, he seemed certain to fall. Then his wings caught the steaming air. He glided across the chamber and struck Robb in the chest. Robb staggered but managed to catch him. Ember chirped triumphantly. Robb laughed. Ned did not. "Now call it back." Jon held out his arm. Ember launched himself and returned. The movement came more easily the second time. He landed upon Jon's forearm, wings beating until he found his balance. Ned stared at them. When the Targaryens ruled, he said, their dragons did not accept every rider. The bond was said to be in the blood. Jon's skin prickled. Robb glanced at him. But Jon is a Stark. Ned closed his eyes. For a moment, the Lord of Winterfell seemed defeated by something none of them could see. When he opened them again, the fear was hidden. "This secret could kill us all," he said. "King Robert would tear Winterfell stone from stone if he believed a dragon was being raised here." "He is your friend," Robb said. "He is king." The words carried a warning neither boy fully understood. Ned paced the chamber. He looked at the hot springs, the concealed tunnel, and Ember perched upon Jon's arm. "At first light, I will send men to seal the lower entrance from the old well. We will keep only the path behind Lyanna's tomb. Food must come from the kitchens and scraps, small enough not to be missed. When the creature grows too large for these tunnels, another place must be found." "Me." Jon's hope returned cautiously. "He can stay. For now." Jon moved before he could stop himself and embraced his father. Ned stiffened. Then one hand came to rest upon Jon's head. Ember climbed between them and bit the edge of Ned's fur cloak. Robb laughed again. This time even Ned's mouth almost softened. The years that followed were measured by the growth of dragon wings. At first, Ember fed on mice, kitchen scraps, and the occasional fish Jon caught in the pools beneath Winterfell. Within 6 moons, rats were not enough. By his first name day, the dragon was the size of a large hound and could melt iron nails with a breath. Keeping him secret required more than children's cunning. Ned brought Maester Lewin below under oath. The Maester spent an entire night staring, measuring, writing and muttering that every page ever written on dragons had contradicted another. He examined Ember's teeth, wings, scales, and droppings with equal seriousness. "He should not exist," Lewin said. Ember sneezed smoke into his face. The Maester coughed. "That appears not to trouble him. A hidden sheepfold was established beyond the oldest section of the Godswood. Meat was carried through a disused tunnel once used during sieges. Trusted men were chosen one at a time. Vaon Poole, who managed the accounts. Mikken, who forged chains Ember later melted. And Hullen, who taught Jon how horses reacted to the smell of dragon. Sir Roderick Castle discovered the secret after following Jon one evening. He drew his sword, swore, prayed, and then demanded the boy begin training twice as hard. "A dragon may keep steel from your throat," he said, "but not if someone cuts it while you're admiring the beast." Catelyn Stark remained unaware for nearly 2 years. She learned when Bran followed Jon into the Godswood. Bran was only 5. He had become convinced that Jon vanished beneath the heart tree because the old gods spoke to bastards through roots. Arya, who had helped invent this theory, distracted Septa Mordane while Bran crawled beneath a hedge and found the concealed stair. Ember was eating when Bran entered. The dragon had grown larger than a pony, with a wingspan broad enough to fill the cavern. Half a goat hung from his jaws. Blood steamed on the stones. Bran screamed. Ember screamed louder. Jon ran between them. Bran tripped and fell. The dragon reared, wings striking the walls, and fire gathered orange-white in his throat. Jon did not speak. He reached with the part of himself that had known Ember since the shell broke. Enough. The flame died. Ember lowered his head. Bran looked from dragon to brother, wonder replacing fear. "Can I ride him?" Catelyn heard Bran's account before Jon could stop him. She came below with Ned, Sir Roderick, and 2 guards. Her face was white with fury. "What have you brought beneath my children?" "He found it," Ned said. "And you allowed it to live?" "It had already bonded with him." "With your bastard." Jon stood beside Ember's foreleg. The dragon sensed hostility and made a low sound deep in his chest. Catelyn recoiled. "Take the children upstairs," Ned ordered. "I am not leaving them with that creature." "Catelyn," years of restraint cracked in her voice. "First you bring the boy into my home. Then you give him a place beside my son. Now you hide a dragon for him beneath Winterfell. What will you give him next? Robb's birthright?" Ned's expression became colder than the crypts. "Enough. Is it? You speak of Robert tearing down these walls, yet you risk all our lives for him." Jon felt each word like a blade. He wished Catelyn would strike him. Bruises faded. Words remained. Ember's tail lashed. A brazier overturned. Bran cried out. Jon placed a hand against the dragon's scales and forced calm through their bond. Catelyn saw him do it. Her anger changed into fear. Not fear of the dragon. Fear of Jon Day. Ned dismissed everyone except his wife. Their voices rose behind the sealed door while Jon led Ember deeper into the caverns. Robb found him beside the underground pool. "She doesn't hate you," Robb said. Jon did not answer. "She's frightened. Of me. Of what could happen." Jon rested his forehead against Ember's snout. The dragon's breath warmed his hair. "She thinks I'll take Winterfell. You don't want Winterfell." "No." Robb sat beside him. "Then she's wrong." Jon looked at his brother. "Would you still say that if men followed a dragon instead of a dire wolf?" Robb tried to answer. The silence was answer enough. That winter, Jon flew for the first time. Ember had grown too large for the cavern passage. A new entrance was opened through a ravine north of the castle. Jon had ridden on the dragon's back while Ember walked, but Sir Roderick forbade any attempt at flight. Naturally, Arya dared him. She stood upon a snowy ridge with her hair whipping around her face. "He won't drop you." "How would you know?" "He likes you. So does Ghost. I wouldn't leap from a tower on his back." "No." "Bran would?" Bran nodded eagerly. Jon fashioned a saddle from leather straps and an old horse blanket. It was a poor thing, but Ember tolerated it. The dragon crouched in the snow while Jon climbed between the ridges of his spine. "Only along the ground," Sir Roderick warned. "If the beast spreads its wings, you climb off." Ember ran Dokshi. Snow sprayed beneath his claws. Jon clung to the straps, laughing despite the cold. The dragon gathered speed until the trees blurred. Then the ground vanished. Jon's laughter died. Winterfell fell away beneath him. The castle became a crown of gray towers amid the white. Smoke rose from chimneys. The Godswood appeared as a dark patch within the walls. Beyond stretched the Wolfswood, frozen fields, and the King's Road winding south. The wind struck his face so hard he could barely breathe. Ember's wings beat once, twice. The bond between them blazed open. Jon felt the air beneath those wings, as though it pressed beneath his own arms. He sensed every shift of muscle, every stream of wind, every tremor of joy coursing through the dragon. They climbed into sunlight. For the first time in his life, Jon looked down upon Winterfell. It did not seem to care whether he was bastard or trueborn. It was simply home. By the time King Robert came to Winterfell, Ember could swallow an aurochs whole. He did not do so gracefully. The dragon had grown lean rather than bulky, with long black wings edged in silver and a neck armored by overlapping scales. His horns swept back from his skull like polished obsidian. purple eyes had become bright enough to glow in darkness. He was not as vast as the monsters of old Valyria, but from snout to tail he measured more than 60 feet. His wings cast moving shadows over the trees. When he hunted in the mountains, shepherds sometimes returned with stories of thunder beneath a cloudless sky. Ned paid them well and said a rock slide had frightened their flocks. The lie could not last forever. Jon knew that. Ned knew it. Even Ember seemed to know, for he grew restless whenever kept underground too long. They had moved him permanently to a cavern in north of Winterfell. An ancient lava tube opened onto a hidden ravine where no road passed. Jon visited almost every day, flying only above the Wolf's Wood or during storms. Then the king's raven came. Robert Baratheon was riding north with his queen, 3 royal children, 2 Lannister brothers, more than 100 knights, and enough servants to empty Winterfell's stores before the moon turned. Ember sensed Jon's unease. He lay curled among the black rocks, smoke rising around him. A half-eaten elk rested between his claws. You cannot fly until they leave. The dragon blinked. Jon pressed the command through their bond. Stay hidden. Ember exhaled, covering Jon in hot breath that smelled of charred meat. That is not agreement. Robb approached through the ravine wearing boiled leather beneath his cloak. At 16, he had begun to resemble Ned, broad-shouldered, solemn when others watched, quicker to smile when they did not. They are less than half a day away. I know. Father wants you at the castle. Jon looked at Ember. Someone must remain here. Sir Roderick has 6 men posted around the hills. 6 men cannot stop him. No? But you can. And Father cannot explain why you vanished when the king arrived. Jon knew Robb was right. He removed one glove and placed his palm against Ember's snout. Stay. The dragon closed his eyes. There was trust between them, but beneath it lived an older instinct. Fire confined was fire angered. Ember had spent years learning Jon's will. He had never learned patience. Robb touched Jon's shoulder. He'll be safe. I am not worried for him. They rode south through the snow. The royal column arrived before dusk. Banners covered the King's Road. Crowned stag, golden lion, hound, boar, and a dozen lesser sigils. King Robert rode at the center, immense and bearded, though the songs carved him into a figure stronger and younger than the man who dismounted before Winterfell. Jon stood with the Stark household. The king embraced Ned hard enough to rock him backward. You've grown old, Robert declared. Ned glanced at the king's belly. And you've grown prosperous. Robert laughed. Queen Cersei did not. Her eyes moved along the Stark children, pausing upon each face. Robb died. Sansa. Arya. Bran. Rickon. Then Jon died. Ned had ordered him to stand behind the trueborn children as custom required. Jon had expected it. Still, the place felt sharper with a king watching. Robert noticed him. And this is the boy. Ned's shoulders tightened. Jon Snow. Robert looked him over. His gaze lingered on the dark hair, long face, and gray eyes. Gods, Ned. You never told me he looked so much like you. So I am told. Cersei's expression revealed nothing, but her brother Jaime smiled faintly. Jon bowed. Robert clapped him on the shoulder. Your father was a better man before he learned honor. Perhaps you inherited the missing part. The king laughed at his own jest and moved on. Jon saw Ned's face. Fear had returned. Not the fear of armies or kings. The fear Jon remembered from the hidden chamber, when Ember first rested upon his shoulder. That night the feast roared through Winterfell. Jon sat with the squires, younger sons, and household guards. He could see the high table but had no place there. Ghost lay beneath the bench, ignored by most and watched nervously by several southern dogs. Theon Greyjoy drank too much and boasted that he could outshoot any royal archer. Arya threw bread at him. Sansa pretended not to see. Tyrion Lannister sat nearby, drinking with men who laughed too loudly at his jokes. He had sharp, mismatched eyes and a face that seemed to notice whatever others wished hidden. "You keep looking at the door," Tyrion said to Jon. Jon turned. "Do I?" "Every few breaths. I prefer cold air. So do corpses. Most boys your age prefer wine and pretty servants. I am not most boys." "No," Tyrion said. "I gathered that from the wolf." Ghost opened his red eyes. Tyrion raised his cup in greeting. "He looks as though he knows how I will die. He looks at everyone that way." Comforting. A distant sensation brushed Jon's thoughts. Restlessness. Hunger. Wings flexing against stone. Ember. Dew. Jon gripped the table. Tyrion noticed. "Are you ill?" "No." The bond pulsed again. Out. Thought. Jon could not hear a word, but the dragon's desire was unmistakable. He wanted the sky. "Stay," Jon commanded silently. A servant refilled his cup. He did not drink. Across the hall, Ned spoke quietly with the king. Robert gestured broadly and pointed south. Jon knew the purpose of the visit before anyone told him. The king needed a new hand. He wanted Ned to leave Winterfell. Catelyn watched them with worry. Cersei watched Jon. The queen had been watching him throughout the feast. Whenever he looked away, he felt her eyes. When he met them, she turned towards Sansa or the king. Jon wondered whether she suspected the dragon, but that was impossible. A hidden dragon beneath Winterfell was not the sort of secret one guessed, unless she saw something else. After the feast, Jon slipped into the godswood. Snow drifted through the branches. The heart tree's carved red face seemed to weep in the torchlight. He had almost reached the postern gate when Tyrion's voice came from behind him. Running from the pretty servants after all? Jon stopped. Tyrion stood beneath an oak, wrapped in black fur. "I could ask the same of you." "You could. My answer would involve wine, self-pity, and the certainty that my sister has placed one of her men outside my chamber." "What do you want?" "To see the wall, to urinate from the edge of the world, to drink enough that I forget the return journey." Tyrion looked past Jon. "Tonight, I wanted air." Jon shifted to block the path north. Tyrion's gaze dropped to the ground. Snow covered most of the godswood, but near a cluster of stones lay a blackened patch where Ember had sneezed fire days before. The rock had cracked and melted at its center. Tyrion knelt. Curious. Lightning. In winter? A brazier overturned. Stone does not usually melt when braziers overturn. Ghost appeared between the trees. Tyrion stood. Jon placed a hand on the pommel of his sword. A distant roar rolled over the hills. It was faint, no louder than thunder. Jon felt it in his bones. Tyrion heard it too. "That," the dwarf said softly, "was not a wolf." Jon searched for a lie. Before he found one, bells rang from the castle yard. A rider had arrived at speed. Men shouted for Maester Luwin. The sound distracted Tyrion. Only for a moment, but it was enough. Jon turned away. "The north has many beasts unknown in the south." Tyrion studied him. "I am beginning to believe that." The rider brought a letter from the Eyrie. Jon did not learn its contents, but by morning Catelyn's fear had deepened. Ned had accepted the king's offer, and Bran lay broken beneath a tower after falling from a window. Everything changed at once. Bran's fall silenced the castle. Jon stood beside his brother's bed while Catelyn prayed. Bran looked smaller than he should beneath the furs. His legs did not move. His face was pale, and every breath seemed borrowed. Jon wanted Ember. The dragon's heat had always made death feel distant. Catelyn would not look at him. When Jon bent to kiss Bran's forehead, she said, "Leave." "Mother," Robb warned. "He needs quiet." Jon straightened. He had learned to endure her coldness, but grief had sharpened it beyond restraint. I would never hurt him. Her eyes filled with tears. Then leave. Jon did. Ned found him in the yard before dawn. The king's party would depart within hours. Sansa and Arya were going south. Bran could not travel. Catelyn would remain until he woke. Ned led Jon beneath the covered walkway, away from guards and servants. "Benjen rides for the wall tomorrow," he said. Jon looked at him. "You want me to take the black?" "No?" The answer surprised him. "You have asked before," Ned continued. "I refused because you were too young. I refuse now for another reason. A sworn brother cannot hold lands, take a wife, or father children. I will not let you bind yourself before you understand who you are." Jon's heartbeat quickened. "Then tell me." Ned looked toward the yard where Robert shouted for his horse. "Not here." "You always say that. In this you must trust me. I have trusted you for 16 years. Ned flinched. Jon lowered his voice. "Does the dragon obey me because of my mother?" Snow blew between them. Ned's eyes closed for a heartbeat. "Yes." The world seemed to narrow. "Who was she?" "When I return from King's Landing, I will tell you everything." "Why not now?" "Because walls have ears, and the king beneath my roof would kill you if he heard the answer." Jon stared at him. Robert's laughter shook the yard. "You said I could not take the black," Jon whispered. "You will go north with Benjen, but you will not swear vows. Maester Aemon must see you. There are truths he knows that I do not." "No." "And Ember?" Ned looked toward the distant hills. "You will take him." The words struck like sunlight. "How?" "By air. Fly only at night and remain beyond sight of the King's Road. Benjen will carry a message to Lord Commander Mormont. The Wall will see him. The Wall must learn dragons live before the rest of the realm does." Jon thought of Bran broken in bed, Arya leaving, Robb forced to rule Winterfell, and Ned riding south among enemies. "You need him more." Ned gripped Jon's shoulder. "A dragon in King's Landing would turn suspicion into certainty. Your place is north. My place is with my family. You are going because you are my family." For once, Jon did not doubt him. That night he flew. Ember rose above the Wolf's Wood while Winterfell's towers dwindled behind them. Ghosts traveled with Benjen, protesting from a horse-drawn cage until the sound faded into darkness. Jon looked south. He sensed roads, rivers, and dangers beyond the horizon. Ned rode toward them with 2 daughters and a secret that had shaped Jon's entire life. Jon turned Ember north. Behind him, the dragon's wings beat like war drums. The wall turned moonlight into a blade. Jon had seen it from a distance as a pale line beneath the stars. As Ember carried him closer, the line rose until it consumed the northern sky. 700 feet of ice gleamed above Castle Black, ancient and impossible, its surface marked by frozen cracks and shadows deeper than ravines. Ember slowed. For the first time since Jon had known him, the dragon hesitated in the air. Cold pressed against their bond. Not ordinary cold. This was something old, a presence sleeping within the wall. Ember rumbled, and pale flame flickered between his teeth. Below, horns sounded. Men poured from towers and barracks. Some ran for bows. Others simply stared upward. Jon guided Ember into the yard. The landing shattered a wagon. Horses screamed in the stables. Brothers fled beneath covered walks. One man dropped his spear and began praying. Ember folded his wings amid splintered timber and snow. Jon removed his saddle straps while arrows pointed toward his chest from every direction. "Hold!" Benjen Stark shouted. He pushed through the men, Ghost racing beside him. The direwolf bounded onto Ember's foreleg and scrambled toward Jon, tail lashing with delight. The dragon tolerated this with the weary patience of an older brother. Lord Commander Jorah Mormont emerged from the armory wearing a black bearskin cloak. His face was carved by years and weather. He looked at Ember, then at Benjen. "You might have mentioned its size." It was smaller when I last saw it, Benjamin replied. That was 6 days ago. He eats well. Mormont's glare could have frozen water. Jon slid down from Ember's back. Lord Commander, you are Jon Snow. Yes, my lord. You have destroyed my wagon. Jon looked at the wreckage. Yes, my lord. And frightened every horse from here to Eastwatch. Likely, Mormont grunted. At least the boy is honest. The brothers lowered their bows reluctantly. Castle Black had no walls on its eastern, southern, or western sides. The Night's Watch had never expected attack from the kingdoms it guarded. By sunset, Ember had become its defense against every direction. The dragon refused the stables, the vaults, and an abandoned quarry south of the castle. At last he settled beside the wall itself, curling in a hollow where snow melted beneath his body. Men gathered at a distance to stare. Jon heard wagers on how many goats the dragon would eat, how many brothers he could roast, and whether dragon dung could be burned as fuel. Dolorous Eddard claimed the watch would finally be warm, provided Ember did not eat them first. Maester Aemon came after dark. 2 stewards guided the old man across the yard. His blind eyes were clouded, his body bent beneath layers of black wool. Yet, when Ember raised his head, Aemon did not falter. "Closer," he said. The stewards hesitated. "Maester," one whispered. "Its teeth are longer than my arm. Then I will endeavor not to place my arm between them." Jon stepped forward. "He will not harm you." Aemon smiled faintly. "You sound certain. He knows you are no threat." "Does he?" Aemon held out one wrinkled hand. Jon guided it toward Ember's snout. The dragon breathed upon the old maester. Aemon's fingers touched black scales, traced a silver ridge, and rested above the heat pulsing beneath. A tremor passed through him. "Warm," he whispered. "After all these years." Ember lowered his head. The maester touched one horn, then the line of the dragon's jaw dot. "What color are his eyes?" "Purple." Aemon turned toward Jon. "And yours?" "Gray." "May I?" Jon did not understand until the old man raised his hand. He bent. Aemon touched his brow, his cheekbones, and the shape of his face. His fingers paused at Jon's temple. "The dragon accepted you before it saw you?" he asked. "It hatched in my lap." "And the egg?" "It woke when my blood touched it." Aemon released a slow breath. "Come," he said. "We have much to discuss." They sat in the maester's tower beside a brazier. Benjen remained outside the door. Mormont had been asked to attend, but Aemon insisted he speak to Jon first. The chamber smelled of parchment, herbs, and old wool. Ravens shifted in their cages. One repeated the word king until Aemon covered it with a cloth. Jon sat opposite the brazier. "My father said you would know why Ember chose me." "Your father knows. He says he will tell me when he returns." Aemon lowered his head. "Eddard Stark has carried a burden longer than you have lived." "Who is my mother?" "Before I answer, tell me what you remember of the rebellion." Jon recited what every child knew. Prince Rhaegar Targaryen abducted Lyanna Stark. Brandon Stark rode to King's Landing and demanded her release. The Mad King murdered Brandon and Rickard. Robert Baratheon raised his banners. Rhaegar died at the Trident. Jaime Lannister killed the Mad King. Robert took the throne. Aemon listened. "History," he said, "is often a tapestry woven by victors. They choose which threads are gold and which are cut away." "Nah. Did Rhaegar not take her?" "I never met your aunt. I knew Rhaegar through letters, and letters reveal only what their writers permit." He was thoughtful, burdened by prophecy, and convinced that a promised prince must come from his blood. Jon shifted uneasily. Aemon continued. Rhaegar's wife, Elia of Dorne, bore him 2 children, a daughter and a son. He believed his son was the prince that was promised. Later, something changed. What? Why? He began to believe the dragon must have 3 heads. Jon thought of his dream. 3 mountains of flame. Aemon folded his hands. Eddard Stark returned from the war with his sister's body and an infant he named his bastard. No wet nurse was ever identified. No mother came forward. Lord Eddard, famed for honor, refused even his king the truth. Jon could not breathe. Outside, Ember stirred. No, Jon said. Aemon's face held sorrow. Your mother was Lyanna Stark. Jon stood so violently the chair fell. The brazier flame leapt. You do not know that. I know what your father wrote to me before sending you north. Aemon indicated a sealed parchment on the table. Jon stared at it. Read it. My eyes have failed me for many years. Jon broke the seal. The letter was in Ned's hand. Aemon, the boy comes to you with the proof I could no longer hide. The egg was found beneath Lyanna's tomb and woke to his blood. I fear the time for silence is ending. Tell him what you judge necessary, but bid him wait for me before acting upon it. He is Lyanna's son by Rhaegar Targaryen. His life has depended upon Robert never learning this truth. I named him Jon and raised him as my own. Whatever name was given at his birth, remember that he is of Winterfell. Ned Stark. The parchment shook. Jon read it twice, then a 3rd time. His whole life rearranged itself around those words. Catelyn's hatred, Ned's fear, Robert's gaze, the dragon sleeping against the wall. A lie? He whispered. A loving one, Aemon said. He let me believe I was his shame, to keep you from becoming Robert's prey. He let Lady Catelyn hate me. He allowed the world to condemn him so it would not kill you. Jon crushed the parchment in his fist. Ember roared outside. The tower windows rattled. Aemon waited. Jon forced his breathing to slow. The dragon's anger receded with his. What was my name? Eddard did not write it. Was Rhaegar my father? Yes. Did he love her? I cannot answer. Did he force her? I cannot answer. Jon turned away. The brazier blurred. He had imagined his mother countless times. A tavern girl, a noblewoman, a camp follower, a woman too ashamed or too poor to claim him. Never had he imagined the stone lady in the crypts. Promise me. The words had not been spoken to him. They had been spoken for him. Aemon rose with difficulty. Blood is not the sum of a man. It seems to be the sum of a dragon. Dragons are simpler than men. Jon almost laughed. The sound died before it formed. What am I? You are the boy Eddard raised. You are Lyanna's son. You carry Rhaegar's blood. You are brother to Robb, Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rickon by law. You are nephew to the man you called father. You are nephew to the man you called father. You are kin to me, though distant. And to Daenerys Targaryen. Aemon's blind eyes turned toward him. Yes. The exiled princess was a child across the narrow sea, hunted by Robert's assassins and married, rumor claimed, to a Dothraki horse lord. Does she have dragons? No living dragon has been seen in the world except yours. A raven began shrieking beneath its cloth. King! 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 Jon looked toward the cage. Aemon's mouth tightened. You may have a claim to the Iron Throne stronger than Robert's. I do not want it. That has never prevented a crown from wanting a man. Jon remained at Castle Black while Benjen rode beyond the wall. He did not take the Black. Some brothers resented him for living among them without vows. Others considered the dragon payment enough. Mormont set him to training recruits, repairing roofs, and accompanying rangings near the haunted forest. Ember hunted north of the wall, but disliked crossing it. Each passage brought a shudder through the dragon's body. Ghost ranged beside them. Weeks passed. Then Bran woke. A raven brought news that pleased the entire watch. Jon smiled for the first time since learning the truth. The next raven carried darker words. Catelyn had seized Tyrion Lannister on the King's Road. Jaime had attacked Ned in the streets of King's Landing. Then, Robert died. The realm cracked open. Mormont received the message at supper. He read it once, dismissed the hall, and summoned Jon. "Your father has been arrested," he said. Jon stood very still. "For treason. The king's son Joffrey sits the throne. Lord Stark is accused of conspiring to deny his claim. Because Joffrey is not Robert's son." Mormont looked up sharply. Jon knew at once that he had revealed too much. "Is that true?" If Ned said it, yes. Outside, Ember's claws scraped ice. Mormont placed the letter on the table. "Robb Stark has called his banners." Jon moved toward the door. "Where are you going?" "South. The realm is at war. My family is in it. Your uncle Benjen is missing beyond the wall. Dead men have attacked my brothers. Something is waking in the north, and my father is in a cell. You cannot save every man who needs you." "No," Jon said. "Only the ones I can reach." Mormont rose. "If you fly that creature south, every king and lord will know dragons have returned. They will know soon enough. They will call you Targaryen." Jon stopped at the door. "I am Jon Snow." Are you?" The question followed him into the night. He saddled Ember beneath falling snow. Aemon came to the yard, guided by Samwell Tarly, a frightened but kind recruit Jon had befriended. Ghost leapt onto a padded harness behind the saddle. "You mean to go?" Aemon said. "Yes." "Then go as Eddard Stark's son, not as Rhaegar's." Jon looked down at him. "What is the difference? Eddard taught you that power is duty. Rhaegar was taught that power was destiny. Remember which lesson kept you alive." Ember spread his wings. Men backed away. Aemon raised his face toward the sound. "The fire in your blood may choose your enemies," he said. "Do not let it choose the man you become." Jon turned south. The dragon sprang from the yard, climbed beside the wall, and vanished into storm clouds. Jon flew until blood soaked through his gloves. Ember followed the King's Road from above, guided by towns, rivers, and columns of smoke. They traveled at night, and rested only when the dragon's wings began to tremble. Ghost endured the flight in a leather harness, pressed against Jon's back, silent except when Ember descended too sharply. The north passed beneath them. Moat Cailin appeared as broken towers amid endless marsh. The neck stretched green and treacherous. Beyond lay the riverlands scarred by war. Burned farms marked the roads. Armed men moved like ants beneath banners Jon could not always identify. At the Twins, he saw Robb's host crossing the Green Fork. Gray wind howled from the riverbank. Ghost answered. Men looked upward. Robb rode from beneath a gate tower and stared as Ember circled once. Joy surged through Jon, but he did not land. Every hour mattered. He guided the dragon south while Robb's army shouted beneath him. News traveled on slower wings than a dragon. Jon did not know that Robb had captured Jaime Lannister in the Whispering Wood. He did not know that Ned had confessed treason to save Sansa. He did not know the execution had been set for that very day. He learned when the bells began ringing over King's Landing. The city appeared at noon, sprawling beside the Blackwater beneath a haze of summer heat and chimney smoke. The Red Keep crowned Aegon's high hill. The Great Sept stood above a square packed with thousands. Jon felt Ember's excitement at the sight of so many people. "Not prey," Jon warned. The dragon rumbled. The crowd faced a wooden platform before the Septati. Gold cloaks surrounded it. Crimson Lannister banners hung beside the crowned stag of the boy king. Jon's eyes found Sansa first. She stood near the royal family, pale and rigid. Then he saw Ned. His father knelt before a black-armored headsman. Ice rose above him. "No." The word vanished in the wind. Jon leaned against Ember's neck. "Down, die." The dragon folded his wings. The city rushed upward. People began pointing. Screams spread through the square. Bells lost their rhythm. On the platform, King Joffrey stared toward the sky with his mouth open. Cersei seized his arm. Varys looked upward, expression unreadable. Littlefinger did not move. Ilan Payne's sword began to fall. Jon reached through the bond. Not the man. The wood beneath him. Ember opened his jaws. Fire struck the scaffold. It was not the uncontrolled inferno Ned had feared throughout Jon's childhood. The flame came in a narrow torrent, white at its heart and red along its edges. It tore through the platform supports, blasted stone from the sept steps, and hurled Ilan Payne sideways. Ice fell from his hands. The platform collapsed. Ned vanished amid smoke and broken timber. Sansa screamed. Ember swept over the square so low that banners ignited from the heat of his passing. The crowd broke in every direction. Gold cloaks dropped their spears. Horses reared, overturning carts and crushing market stalls. Jon guided Ember around the sept and landed upon the broadest terrace. Stone cracked beneath the dragon's weight. Ghost leapt from the harness. "Find him," Jon said. The direwolf plunged into smoke. Crossbow bolts struck Ember's scales. Most shattered. One lodged between the plates of his shoulder. The dragon roared and turned toward the shooters. "No!" Jon's command stopped the fire in his throat. He drew Longclaw, the Valyrian steel sword Mormont had given him after Jon saved the command. From a dead man at Castle Black. Gold cloaks charged. Ember swept three aside with his tail. Jon met the first man to reach the terrace, caught his spear on Longclaw, and cut through the shaft. He struck with the flat rather than the edge. "These are not our enemies," he told Ember, though he was no longer certain. Ghost emerged from the smoke, dragging Ned by the sleeve. Ned was alive. Blood ran from his temple. His wrists were chained. He coughed and tried to rise. "Jon?" Jon dismounted. For one heartbeat, they simply looked at one another. Ned's gaze moved to the dragon, the burning platform, and the city fleeing around them. "What have you done?" "Saved you." "Sansa." Jon looked toward the royal platform. Cersei's guards had formed a wall around the king and queen. Sansa remained with them, held by Sandor Clegane. The Hound had drawn his sword but did not advance. "Sansa!" Ned shouted. She tried to pull free. Joffrey pointed at Ember. "Kill it! Kill them all!" No one obeyed. The dragon lowered his head until his purple eyes were level with the king. Joffrey's face crumpled. Cersei stepped in front of her son. "You cannot leave the city," she called. "Every gate is closed." Jon glanced at Ember. Cersei followed his gaze and realized the foolishness of her threat. "Give me my sister," Jon said. Sansa stared at him through tears. "You have no authority here," Cersei replied. Ember's throat glowed. Jon felt the dragon's desire to burn. He mastered it. "I have enough." Tyrion Lannister appeared behind the royal guards, leaning heavily on a cane. He had returned from the Vale and survived battle beside his father's host. He looked at Jon, then at the dragon, and gave a humorless smile. "I knew it was not lightning." Cersei turned on him. "Be silent." Tyrion approached the edge of the platform. "Your Grace," he said to Joffrey, "a hostage is useful only while alive. Lord Stark and his daughter may purchase the return of Uncle Jaime. I commanded his head and lost the scaffold." Joffrey slapped him. Ember snarled. The king retreated behind his mother. Varys whispered in Cersei's ear. She listened, never taking her eyes from Jon. At last, she spoke. "Take the girl." Sandor Clegane released Sansa. She ran. Jon caught her against his chest. She was shaking so hard she could barely stand. "Where is Arya?" he asked. Sansa's face changed. "I don't know." Ned struggled upright. "She escaped the castle." Ghost turned toward the crowd. A familiar scent had reached him. He bounded down the steps. "Arya!" Jon shouted. The square seethed with fleeing people. For several terrible moments, Jon saw nothing. Then Ghost emerged beside a thin boy in filthy clothes. The boy tore off a cap. Arya's hair had been hacked short, but her eyes were unmistakable. She ran straight into Ned. He sank to his knees and held both daughters. Jon looked toward the royal platform. Cersei watched the reunion with hatred, but Tyrion's expression held something like relief. Littlefinger had disappeared. Varys bowed his head slightly to Jon. Not submission. Acknowledgement. The secret was no longer secret. Men throughout the square stared at the black-haired youth with a dragon and a Valyrian sword. Some crossed themselves. Others whispered a name that rolled outward through the crowd. Targaryen. Ned heard it. "We must go," he said. They bound him into the rear harness. Sansa sat before him, Arya behind. Ghost wedged himself between Jon and the saddle ridge. Ember crouched. Joffrey recovered enough courage to shout, "Traitor!" Jon looked back. The boy king stood upon a platform built over lies, surrounded by lions, protected by men too frightened to draw bows. Jon could have ended the war with one word: burn. Ember waited for it. Jon remembered Maester Aemon. Power was duty, not destiny. He turned away. Ember launched from the sept. The downbeat of his wings sent tiles and banners spinning through the air. They rose over King's Landing while bells rang an alarm. Sansa clung to Ned. Arya laughed wildly through her tears. Jon looked down at the Iron Throne city. He had entered it as Jon Snow. By nightfall, every kingdom would know that a dragon rider lived. They flew north toward Robb. They landed outside the Stark camp after sunset. Thousands of men surrounded Ember at spear point until Grey Wind and Ghost ran between them. Grey Jon Umber shouted for the men to lower their weapons, though he held his own axe ready. Robb came through the ranks. He saw Ned first. The young wolf became a boy again. "Father." Ned descended with difficulty. Robb caught him. Sansa and Arya followed, and for a moment the war vanished beneath embraces, tears, and names spoken like prayers. Then Robb turned to Jon. "You could have landed at the twins. I was busy." Robb struck him in the shoulder. Jon nearly reached for his sword. Then Robb pulled him into an embrace. The Northern Lords watched. Some knew Jon from Winterfell. Others knew only rumor. They had seen the dragon circle above the Green Fork. Now it crouched beyond their fires, larger than any siege engine, with a white direwolf beneath one wing. Great Jon Umber raised his drinking horn. "To Jon Snow!" he roared. Men answered. The name rolled across the camp. Ned looked troubled. Later, in Robb's command tent, he told them why. Present were Catelyn, who had ridden from the Vale, Robb, Jon, Sansa, Arya, Blackfish Tully, Greyjohn Umber, Roose Bolton, and several trusted bannermen. Ned stood before the map table with bandaged wrists. "Joffrey is not Robert's son," he said, "nor are Myrcella and Tommen. Their father is Jaime Lannister." Dun. The tent erupted. Men cursed. Catelyn sat as though turned to stone. Sansa began to weep again, this time for a dream rather than a person. "There is more," Ned said. He looked at Jon. Jon understood. "Not before them," he said. "It cannot remain hidden. It is mine to tell." "It was yours to live," Ned replied. "The lie was mine." Robb frowned. "What lie?" Ned faced the gathered lords. "Jon is not my son." Silence. Catelyn's lips parted. Ned continued, each word measured. "He is the son of my sister Lyanna and Rhaegar Targaryen." Greyjohn's horn slipped from his hand. Wine spilled across the earth. Robb stared at Jon. You knew? Only since the wall. Why did you not tell me? I learned my father was not my father. My mother was my aunt. And the king would kill me for breathing. I had other concerns. Robb recoiled as though struck. Jon regretted the words at once. Ned said, Rhaegar and Lyanna were wed in secret before a heart tree, and later by a septon whose record I found at the Tower of Joy. If the marriage was lawful, he is the heir, Roose Bolton said. Every eye turned toward Jon. The tent seemed to contract. No, Jon said. Bolton's pale eyes did not blink. Rhaegar's son comes before Robert's brothers, before Joffrey, before every claimant. I do not want the throne. Greyjon laughed once. Neither did the young wolf, and we crowned him before supper. Robb is not crowned. The lords exchanged glances. Jon realized he had arrived before a decision interrupted by news of Ned's survival. Greyjon drew his sword. Catelyn rose. Do not. The Umbers, Karstarks, Mormonts, and other northern lords had debated whether to support Stannis, Renly, or no southern king at all. Now a dragon slept beyond the camp. Greyjon planted his blade in the earth. The dragons bowed the north once, he said. Now a dragon has come from Winterfell's own blood. Why should we kneel to stag or lion? He looked between Robb and Jon. The north remembers its kings. Men began to rise. Jon felt embers stirring outside. A crown had entered the tent, though none yet wore it. The crown passed over Jon like a blade that chose not to fall. Greyjon Umber named him first. Aegon Targaryen, he thundered. The sixth of his name, King of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men. Jon felt no triumph. The name Aegon belonged to a dead child whose skull had been broken against a wall during the sack of King's Landing. It belonged to conquerors, kings, and ghosts. It did not belong to the boy who had fed a hatchling scraps beneath Winterfell. My name is Jon, he said. Murmurs spread through the tent. And I will not be your southern king. Greyjon scowled. You have the blood. So did Viserys Targaryen, and men called him a beggar. You have a dragon. A dragon is not a crown. It can make one. Jon looked at Robb. His brother stood beside the map table, face carefully still. He had called the banners, crossed the neck, defeated Jaime Lannister, and carried the burden of command while believing his father condemned. The northern lords loved him. Their soldiers followed him. Yet with one revelation, Jon had become the center of the room. Catelyn saw it too. Her old fear had come true. Not through Jon's ambition, but through blood. Jon drew Longclaw. Men reached for weapons. He turned the blade and knelt before Robb. If the North wants a king, he said, it has one. Robb stared down at him. Jon lowered the sword across his palms. I will fight for House Stark. I will fight for Sansa and Arya, for Bran and Rickon, and for every man the Lannisters have murdered. I will not steal my brother's place because my father was a prince I never knew. Robb's eyes shone. Stand, he said. Jon remained kneeling. Not until you answer. You stubborn fool. Your Grace, Greyjon corrected. Robb looked around the tent. Ned's expression held both pride and dread. Catelyn clutched the back of her chair. The northern lords waited. At last, Robb drew his own sword and laid it across Jon's. Rise, brother. Jon stood. Greyjon Umber lifted his blade. The king in the north. The cry struck the tent like thunder. Other swords came free. The king in the north. Men knelt to Robb. Jon did too. Outside, Ember roared. The sound rolled across the camp, and thousands of voices answered. Robb Stark became king while a Targaryen knelt before him. That choice changed the war. The River Lords joined Robb's kingdom, though some questioned why a man with a dragon did not claim all 7 realms. Letters arrived from Renly Baratheon promising alliance if Jon acknowledged him as king. Stannis sent a shorter message demanding that both brothers bend the knee. Tywin Lannister offered Ned's old titles back if Jon surrendered Ember and Robb released Jaime. Ned burned the letter. Cersei declared Jon a pretender born of rape and sorcery. Joffrey placed a reward of 100,000 gold dragons upon his head. The irony pleased Tyrion, who had become acting hand and sent a private note advising Jon that the treasury did not contain 100,000 coins of any kind. The war might have ended in a moon's turn if Jon had unleashed Ember upon every Lannister army. Ned forbade it. A dragon does not distinguish the guilty from the conscript standing beside him, he said. Jon remembered the farms beneath the King's Road, so Ember was used with restraint. He burned supply wagons after soldiers fled them. He shattered bridges behind retreating armies. He descended upon castles and demanded surrender before flame touched stone. Most yielded. Harrenhal did not. Sir Amory Lorch held the ruin with 3,000 men and hundreds of prisoners. He hanged 20 from the walls when Jon's shadow crossed the lake. "Come closer," Lorch shouted from the battlements, "and the rest burn before your beast does." Jon circled beyond bowshot. Through Ember's eyes, the castle seemed small. Through Jon's, it was filled with people who would die if he chose badly. At dusk, Arya entered his tent. "You should burn him." "No. He killed Yoren." Jon looked up. "How do you know?" "I was there." She told him of the gold cloaks, the recruits bound for the wall, the attack near the God's Eye, and the men who had died protecting her. "He deserves fire," she said. "Perhaps." "Then why not?" "Because he placed innocent people between himself and Ember." Arya's face hardened. "So cruel men win by hiding behind good ones?" "Only until good ones stop protecting them." That night Jon flew above the clouds while 50 Stark men crossed the lake in fishing boats. Ghost guided Arya through a drainage tunnel remembered by a former servant. They opened a postern gate from within. When Ember descended at Stark banners already flew from one tower. Lorch fled into the yard. Jon landed before him. The knight dropped his sword and begged mercy. Arya watched from the gatehouse. Jon wanted to burn him. Ember wanted it more. Instead, Ned judged him and ordered him hanged. Some called it weakness. Others began opening their gates before the dragon arrived. Victory brought new dangers. The northern lords who loved Robb admired Jon. The river lords who feared Tywin desired him. Small folk gathered beside roads to watch Ember pass. Singers invented verses about the wolf dragon, the hidden prince, and the black flame of Winterfell. Each song made Robb quieter. Jon noticed. After the surrender of the crag, he found Robb alone beside a stream, cleaning blood from his sword. "You were reckless today," Jon said. Robb did not look up. "We won. You charged before the shield wall formed. You landed on a tower occupied by 40 archers. Ember was armored. So am I. Mail is not dragon scale." Robb drove the sword point into the mud. "Do you think I do not know?" Jon stopped. "Every battle," Robb continued. "Men ask where the dragon will strike. Every council. They look at you before they answer me. When a castle yields, they cheer your name. I did not ask them to." "No, that makes it worse." The words hurt, because Jon understood them. Robb rose. "I was raised to rule Winterfell," he said. "Then father was arrested, and suddenly I commanded 20,000 men. I made mistakes. I sent men to die. I lay awake wondering whether every choice would destroy our house." Jon listened. "Then you descend from the sky, save father, rescue our sisters, and reveal that you are the lawful son of a prince. You could claim the realm. You refuse it, kneel to me, and somehow that makes you more beloved. I would trade every cheer for the years you had with father calling you son." Robb's anger faltered. Jon continued, "You think I do not envy you? You knew your place from birth. You knew your mother. No one looked at your supper and wondered whether you had stolen it from someone worthier. Me, you had Ember. I had a secret I was told could kill everyone I loved." Robb looked toward the distant ridge where the dragon slept. For a while neither spoke. Then Robb sat again and handed Jon a cloth. "You missed blood near the guard." Jon took the sword. They cleaned it together. The war changed again when word came from the east. Daenerys Targaryen had walked into her husband's funeral pyre and emerged with 3 living dragons. The message arrived from a merchant in Korth, then another in Volantis, then a third carried by Varys agents. The details differed, but all agreed upon the impossible. 3 dragons, a girl with silver hair, the last daughter of the Mad King. Jon read the reports beside Ember. His dragon sniffed the parchment and burned one corner. "She is your aunt," Arya said. "Apparently. Will she come here? She may not survive long enough. She has dragons. So do I. That has not made my life peaceful." Arya grinned. It made it interesting. Ned did not smile when he heard. "Robert sent assassins after her," he said. "If she learns his best friend concealed Rhaegar's son, she may see you as either ally or rival. I am neither. You do not control how others name you." That lesson returned when Renly died. Rumors spoke of a shadow with Stannis' face. Renly's armies split. Most of the Storm Lords joined Stannis. The Tyrells turned toward the Lannisters. Stannis sent Jon a final demand. "Bend the knee, surrender all claim to the Iron Throne, and place your dragon in the king's service." Jon wrote his answer himself. "I have already surrendered what I never wanted. My knee belongs to the king in the north. My dragon belongs to no man." Stannis burned the letter. Melisandre did not. The Red Priestess studied it in the fire and saw a black dragon flying above a wall of ice. She saw Jon with a sword burning pale in his hand. She saw a crown melting into water. And in the flames behind him, she saw a darkness that did not fear dragons. Catelyn released Jaime Lannister on a night of heavy rain. She did not act to recover Sansa, who was already safe, nor Arya, who slept beneath Stark banners. She acted because the war had consumed too many sons. Brienne of Tarth was charged with escorting Jaime to King's Landing under terms he would deliver: the return of Stark prisoners, recognition of northern independence, and an exchange of hostages. Catelyn believed Tyrion might accept what Cersei would not. Robb saw betrayal. The Karstarks saw treason. Lord Rickard Karstark's 2 sons had died fighting Jaime. When he learned the Kingslayer had escaped, he murdered 2 captive Lannister boys in revenge. Robb sentenced him to death. Ned urged mercy, not for Karstark's sake, but for the men who would desert after him. "A king must be just," Robb said. "A king must keep his kingdom alive. You taught me the man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. I taught you to understand death before commanding it. I did not teach you to ignore consequence." Robb looked toward Jon. It happened often now. Father and son disagreed, and the room waited for the dragon rider. Jon hated it. "Karstark murdered prisoners," he said. "If we pardon him because we need his men, then justice is only for the weak." Ned's disappointment was quiet. Robb executed Lord Karstark at dawn. Half the Karstark host abandoned the army before noon. The Freys followed. Walder Frey had expected Robb to marry one of his daughters in payment for crossing the twins. Robb had agreed. Then, while wounded at the crag, he had married Jane Westerling. Jon learned after the vows were spoken. He found Robb in the castle Godswood. "You promised." "I know. You gave your word before your lords." "I know. You cannot mend this with apologies." "I know." Robb struck the heart tree with his fist. Blood marked the white bark. Jon's anger faltered. Robb lowered his voice. "She nursed me when I thought Bran and Rickon were dead. They had received false word that Theon Greyjoy had taken Winterfell and murdered the boys. In truth, Bran and Rickon had escaped with Osha, Hodor, and the Reeds. No one knew where they had gone. Grief had hollowed Robb. Jane had filled the emptiness for one night, then married him when honor demanded it. Ned understood too well to condemn him. The Freys were less forgiving. Jon offered to fly to the twins. "No dragon," Robb said. "Walder will consider it a threat." "It is a threat. We need his men. You need him frightened enough to bargain. I need my bannermen to believe I can solve one problem without sending my brother and his dragon." Jon stared. Robb regretted the words but did not withdraw them. "Very well," Jon said. "Go without me." Ned had accompanied Robb to the twins. So did Catelyn, Great Jon Umber, Dacy Mormont, and 3,000 chosen men. The rest remained near River Run under Jon's command. Walder Frey welcomed them. He offered bread and salt. Then he closed the gates. The first raven reached Jon after midnight. It carried no message, only an arrow driven through its body. The second came from a stable boy who had escaped into the river. Betrayal at the twins. Boltons and Freys. The king wounded. Jon mounted Ember before the camp fully woke. Rain blinded the sky. Lightning flickered within clouds. The dragon climbed north over the Green Fork, beating through wind that would have grounded any bird. Jon felt his brother's fear before he saw the castle. Not through blood or magic. Through memory. Robb at 8 years old, touching a warm egg. Robb catching the hatchling against his chest. Robb saying, "He'll be safe." The twins burned with torchlight. Men fought in the yard. Northern tents blazed outside the walls. The river churned with bodies and overturned boats. Jon saw Bolton banners at the eastern gate. Ember screamed. The sound shattered windows. Jon did not restrain him. "Open the gates!" Jon shouted from the air. Crossbows answered. Bolts rattled from Ember's scales. One pierced the membrane of his left wing. Pain tore through the bond. The dragon's fury became Jon's. Fire swept across the eastern battlements. Stone glowed. Men fled. Jon hated himself for the screams, but he did not command Ember to stop until the gatehouse was empty. They landed in the yard. Ghost leapt free and vanished among fighting men. Jon cut through Frey guards, searching for Grey direwolf banners. He found Great Jon Umber chained in a hall, half drunk and bleeding from the head. Dacy Mormont lay nearby, wounded but alive. "Robb?" Jon demanded. Great Jon pointed toward the feast hall. Bolton took him. The doors had been barred. Ember tore them from their hinges. Inside, long tables lay overturned. Northmen fought against Freys beneath falling torches. Musicians had drawn crossbows from beneath their cloaks. Roose Bolton stood near the high table with a dagger against Robb's throat. Robb was wounded. Blood covered his mail. Catelyn was held beside him. Ned stood unarmed with a spear at his back. Walder Frey watched from his chair. The hall became silent when Ember's head entered through the ruined doorway. His horns scraped beams. Roose Bolton did not release Robb. "One flame," Bolton said, "and your brother dies." Jon dismounted. Longclaw hung in his hand. "You planned this with Tywin Lannister." "I planned survival." "You swore to House Stark." "I swore while House Stark was strong." Ember's growl shook cups from the tables. Walder Frey gripped his chair. "Get that beast out of my hall." Jon ignored him. Robb met his eyes. There was no fear in his face now, only trust. The same trust he had shown when Jon commanded a hatchling to cross the cavern. Jon opened the bond fully. Ember saw what he saw. Not Roose Bolton. The dagger. The angle of the arm holding it. The table behind him. Jon dropped Longclaw. Bolton's eyes flicked downward. Ember moved. His head struck through the doorway. His jaws closed around Bolton's sword arm without biting through. The force lifted the man from the floor and hurled him across a table. Robb fell away. Ned seized the spear behind him and broke the guard's knee. Catelyn drove a dinner knife into another man's hand. The hall erupted. Jon reached Robb. A fray came from the side. Robb caught the sword on his vambrace. Jon struck the attacker with Longclaw's pommel. Great Jon and the freed Northmen poured through the doors. Walder Frey tried to flee. Arya would later complain that Jon should have let her decide his punishment. At that moment, Jon barely noticed the old lord. He knelt beside Robb. The wound beneath his ribs was deep. "Stay awake." "I am awake." "You look terrible." "You always were a liar." Ned tore cloth for a bandage. Catelyn pressed both hands against the wound. A maester was dragged from hiding. Robb survived. The Red Wedding became the Broken Wedding, and the song written afterward ended not with wolf blood in cups, but with a dragon tearing open the hall. Roose Bolton was tried for treason and beheaded by Robb after his recovery. Walder Frey lost the twins. His sons were sent to the wall or held as hostages. House Frey did not vanish, but its power broke. Tywin Lannister's plan failed. His next one did not. Joffrey died at his own wedding, choking upon poisoned wine. Tyrion Lannister was accused. Jaime returned to King's Landing with Brienne too late to prevent the trial. He freed Tyrion, killed no guards, and watched his brother vanish across the narrow sea. Then Tywin Lannister was found dead in his privy. Cersei became regent for Tommen. The Tyrell alliance frayed. Stannis remained at Dragonstone until a letter arrived from the Wall. It came not from Jorah Mormont, who had been murdered beyond the Wall, nor from Benjen Stark, still missing. It came from Maester Aemon. The dead are walking. The wildlings flee south not to conquer but to survive. The Wall will fall unless the realm remembers its purpose. Jon read the message beside Robb's sickbed. The Southern War was not finished. Casterly Rock remained unconquered. King's Landing still held thousands of Stark and Riverland prisoners. The Iron Throne claimed authority over all 7 kingdoms. But the words from the Wall carried a cold deeper than politics. Ember felt it. He raised his head toward the north and growled. Ned entered the chamber. "You must go," he said. Robb tried to rise. "We all go. You cannot sit a horse. I have sat one with worse." "No," Catelyn said. Robb looked at Jon. The old envy between them had burned away at the twins. "Take the army north," he said. "I will follow when I can. Casterly Rock can wait. King's Landing can rot." Jon folded Aemon's letter. For years, every lord had feared the dragon. Now something beyond the Wall had called him home. The realm sent fewer men to the Wall than it had sent to weddings. Jon understood the measure of its wisdom from that alone. The northern host traveled by road while Jon and Ember flew ahead. They passed Winterfell, where Bran had returned after months beyond the Wall, changed by visions and silence. Rickon clung to Osha and refused to sleep without Shaggy Dog beside him. The castle had been reclaimed from the Ironborn, though Theon Greyjoy was gone. Ned remained at Winterfell to gather grain, men, and every piece of dragonglass Bran claimed lay buried beneath the old foundations. Jon landed at Castle Black during a battle. Wildlings climbed the wall in scattered bands, while giants hammered at the outer gate. Night's Watch archers fired downward. Stannis Baratheon's horsemen charged through the forest against Mance Rayder's host. Ember's arrival ended both struggles. The dragon circled over the wildling camp and breathed fire across an empty stretch of snow. Thousands fell silent. Jon landed between the armies. Tormund Giantsbane approached under a white flag, red beard stiff with ice. "We aren't running from crows," he said. "We're running from what comes behind us." Jon believed him. He had seen the dead man rise in Castle Black. He remembered the cold sleeping within the wall. Stannis did not believe until a corpse was brought from the haunted forest. The thing had once been a ranger. Its skin was gray, its eyes blue. Chains bound it to a cart. When night fell, it woke and tore through 2 men before Ember burned it. The fire left nothing but black bones. Stannis watched in silence. Melisandre watched Jon. "You are the prince that was promised," she said. "No, the dragon woke beneath your blood. So I have been told? You were born of ice and fire. I was born in Dorne." She smiled as if he had confirmed rather than contradicted her. Maester Aemon was dying. Jon found him in his chamber beneath 6 blankets. Sam sat beside the bed, reading letters aloud. The old man's breathing came shallowly, but his mind remained clear. 4 dragons, Aemon whispered when Jon entered. 4? Word from Eastwatch. Ships in the bay, a queen with silver hair. Jon went to the window. Black shapes moved against the evening clouds. One was vast, larger than Ember, with red-black wings. 2 smaller dragons followed, one green and bronze, the other pale gold. Ember rose from beside the wall. His roar met theirs above the ice. Men fled for cover. The dragons circled, calling to one another in voices older than kingdoms. Jon felt Ember's amazement, suspicion, and fierce delight. He had lived his entire life believing himself the only creature of his kind. Now the sky answered him 3 times. A fleet anchored east of the castle. Daenerys Targaryen came ashore with unsullied spearmen, Dothraki riders, sellswords, and advisors from half the world. Tyrion Lannister walked at her side. He saw Jon and laughed. "Your improbable beast has multiplied." Daenerys did not laugh. She wore black and red, though no crown. Her silver hair was braided, her face younger than the legends built around it and harder than youth should allow. Drogon landed behind her. Ember descended behind Jon. Snow turned to steam beneath them. For a moment, no one else mattered. Daenerys studied Jon as Robert once had, looking for a resemblance to the dead. "You claim to be Rhaegar's son. I claim to be Jon Snow. Tyrion says your father confessed your birth before half the northern lords. Eddard Stark was my father in every way that mattered." Her eyes sharpened. "And Rhaegar? A man I never met. He was my brother. So Aemon told me." At the name, her expression changed. "Maester Aemon lives?" "Barely." Jon led her to the tower. Aemon heard her steps. "Daenerys," he whispered. She knelt beside him. The old man reached for her face as he had reached for Jon's. His fingers traced her cheek, her brow, and the line of her hair. "Alone in the world," he said. "Not anymore," Daenerys answered. Aemon smiled. He held one of her hands and one of Jon's. "The dragon has 3 heads," he murmured. "There are 4 dragons," Tyrion said softly. Aemon's smile deepened. "Prophecy has never been good at counting." He died before dawn. Daenerys remained beside him until the ravens began to stir. They burned his body beyond the wall. Drogon, Ember, Rhaegal, and Viserion lit the pyre together. The flames rose blue, red, gold, and white. For one impossible moment, Aemon's black cloak lifted in the heat like wings. Jon and Daenerys stood side by side. Neither spoke of crowns. That silence lasted one day. On the second, Stannis summoned them to the Shield Hall. He claimed the Iron Throne by law. Daenerys claimed it by blood. Jon claimed nothing, which made both of them distrust him. "You bent the knee to Robb Stark," Stannis said. "Yes. An oath made before learning your lawful name can be reconsidered. I learned before I knelt." Stannis' jaw tightened. "Then you knowingly supported rebellion. The North was independent before your ancestors conquered Storm's End. By that measure, every kingdom may dissolve whenever its lords grow displeased. Perhaps kingdoms should need reasons to remain together." Daenerys looked at him. "You speak as though rule were a choice given to subjects." It should be. Tyrion covered a smile with his cup. Stannis did not. The dead approach, Davos Seaworth said. Perhaps we might argue about chairs after we stop them killing everyone who could sit. That ended the council. The living gathered. Robb arrived 2 weeks later, pale from his wound but seated upright in the saddle. Catelyn rode beside him. Great Jon led the northern vanguard. Daisy Mormont carried the bear banner. Ned came with Bran, Arya, Rickon, and wagon loads of dragon glass. Sansa remained at Winterfell to rule in Robb's absence. She had changed from the girl who dreamed of princes. Northern stewards obeyed her more quickly than they obeyed most knights. Wildlings passed south through the wall under Jon's protection. Stannis objected until Bran described the army behind them. They do not sleep, Bran said. They do not hunger. Every man they kill becomes another soldier. How many? Daenerys asked. Bran looked toward the ice. All the dead. Plans were made. Dragonglass weapons were distributed. Trenches were dug beyond the wall. Pitch, oil, and timber were gathered. Melisandre lit fires along the battlements. Sam searched every record in the library for mention of the others. Ember became restless. At night, he clawed the frozen ground and stared north. Jon dreamed of blue roses beneath snow. Lyanna stood beside the crypt door. This time, he saw her face. Behind her, the black mountain of flame had become ember. A pale spear struck his heart. Jon woke screaming. He found Bran waiting beside his bed. "You saw it too," Bran said. Jon sat up. "What?" "The dragon falling." The wall fell without breaking. The dead came beneath it. For 8,000 years, men had watched the ice and feared an army climbing, tunneling, or battering through the gates. They had never imagined the others remembered passages men had forgotten. 3 nights after the first storm, blue lights appeared in the gorge west of Castle Black. Bran saw them through a raven. An ancient river ran beneath the wall, frozen since the Age of Heroes. The dead entered through caverns opened by cold so powerful it split the earth. They emerged south of the wall before the alarm sounded. The first village died in silence. The second lit warning fires. By dawn, 10,000 dead marched through the gift. The living abandoned Castle Black and withdrew toward Winterfell. Jon hated the retreat, but the wall no longer stood between the enemy and the realm. Remaining would only add soldiers to the Night King's army. They burned every body they could not carry. The sky remained dark. Clouds covered the sun by day and the moon by night. Snow fell without pause. Crops vanished beneath ice. Wells froze. Horses died standing. The dead did not slow. At Winterfell, Sansa had prepared. Food filled the cellars. Refugees crowded the outer ward. The old tunnels had been opened, including the cavern where Ember hatched. Dragonglass arrows lined the walls. The crypts were emptied. "No dead beneath us," Sansa said. The bones of Stark kings were carried to funeral pyres in the Godswood. Some Northerners protested until the first white rose from a burial mound outside the walls. Ned watched his ancestors burn. "The dead will understand," he said. The armies of the living gathered around Winterfell. Northmen and Riverlords stood beside wildlings. Unsullied formed ranks before Dothraki riders. Stannis' surviving soldiers held the eastern field. Vale Knights arrived under Lord Royce. Jaime Lannister came with Brienne and a small band of Western men who had abandoned Cersei. Cersei sent no army. King's Landing had closed its gates and waited for the North to die. Tyrion read her message twice. She always did mistake delay for victory. The plan was simple because all plans became simple before death. Fire trenches would break the first waves. Archers would use dragonglass. Cavalry would strike only where retreat remained possible. The dragons would burn the dead beyond the reach of living soldiers. Bran waited in the Godswood beneath the Heart Tree. The Night King wanted him. No one fully understood why. Bran said memory itself was the enemy of endless night. Kill the memory, and mankind became nothing more than bodies waiting to be raised. Jon believed him because there was no time not to. The dead arrived at midnight. They covered the horizon. No banners, no horns, no shouted commands, only feet moving through snow. Ember trembled beneath Jon. Drogon roared from the western tower. Rhaegar and Viserion answered. Their voices shook frost from roofs. Daenerys mounted. Jon looked once toward the battlements. Robb stood beside Grey Wind, crownless beneath a fur hood. Ned held ice. Arya wore a dragonglass dagger at each hip. Sansa watched from the inner wall. Rickon had been sent below despite his protests. Catelyn stood with Bran in the Godswood. Jon raised a fist. Robb raised his. Ember leapt. 4 dragons climbed into darkness. The trenches ignited. A line of flames stretched for miles. The dead walked into it. Bodies burned, collapsed, and were trampled by those behind. The fire dimmed beneath sheer weight. Jon and Daenerys descended. Dragonfire swept across the fields. Ember's flame was nearly white now, hot enough to turn snow into bursts of steam. Drogon's burned red-black. Rhaegar painted the night green and gold. Viserion's pale fire shone like sunrise. Thousands of dead vanished. Thousands more came. The battle lost shape. Dothraki charged and returned with half their number. Giants struck the unsullied line. Dead bears climbed over burning trenches. Ravens fell frozen from the air. Jon felt the cold before he saw the others. They rode dead horses behind the army, tall and pale, armor gleaming like fractured moonlight. At their center walked the Night King. He looked upward. Ember faltered. Terror entered the dragon's mind. Jon pressed himself against the scales. Together, they dived. The Night King raised one arm. Dead archers fired. Ice-tipped arrows filled the sky. Ember rolled. Most passed beneath his wing. Several shattered against scales. Rhaegar screamed. An arrow had pierced his leg. Daenerys called him away, while Drogon burned the archers. Jon continued toward the Night King. Too direct, some part of him warned. He saw the spear. The Night King drew it from the back of a dead horse. The weapon glowed blue in his hand. Jon's dream returned. Blue roses. A falling dragon. Turn. Ember moved before the command formed. The spear left the Night King's hand. It crossed the darkness without falling. Ember twisted. The point missed his heart. It struck beneath his left wing. Cold exploded through Jon's body. Ember screamed. The bond became pain, pure and absolute. One wing stopped moving. They fell. Jon clung to the saddle as sky and earth exchanged places. Fire spilled from Ember's mouth. The dragon struck a tower, broke through the roof, and crashed into the courtyard. Stone erupted. Jon awoke beneath snow and rubble. He could not feel his left arm. Ember lay across the yard. The spear protruded from his side, surrounded by spreading frost. His wing was broken. Purple eyes searched for Jon. Jon crawled. Men fought around them. Whites poured through a breach in the outer wall. Arya appeared, killed one with a dragonglass dagger, and dragged Jon clear of a falling beam. Ember, he gasped. I see him. The dragon tried to rise. His forelegs collapsed. Jon reached his head and placed both hands against the scales. Cold had replaced their familiar heat. No why. Ember's eye fixed upon him. Images flowed through the bond. A warm egg. Robb's burned sleeve. Snow beneath new wings. The wall in moonlight. King's Landing below. Freedom above every name men had given Jon. No. The dragon breathed weakly. Fire flickered once between his teeth. Jon felt affection without words, trust without condition, and a life that had begun in his lap. Ember looked toward the Godswood. The Night King had entered Winterfell. Jon saw him through the dragon's fading senses, a pale figure walking beneath snow, surrounded by others, moving toward Bran. Ember gathered what remained of his strength. Jon understood. You cannot. The dragon ignored him for the first time. He rose on 3 limbs. Arya backed away. Ember dragged his broken wing through the yard, crushing whites beneath his claws. The ice spear remained inside him. Frost crawled across his chest. Jon followed, stumbling. The dragon reached the Godswood gate. Another stepped before him. Ember burned it. The pale warrior shattered into glittering fragments. The Night King turned. Bran sat beneath the heart tree. Catelyn stood before him with a dragonglass spear, though both knew it would not be enough. Ember entered the Godswood. The Night King raised another spear. Jon screamed the dragon's name. Ember breathed fire. The Night King walked through it. His armor smoked, but did not melt. He hurled the spear. Ember caught it in his jaws. Ice split teeth. Blue light burst through his skull. Still, the dragon advanced. He closed his jaws around the Night King. Cold and flame collided. Every tree in the Godswood bent outward. The heart tree's red leaves tore free and whirled into the sky. Ember's fire turned blue. The Night King drove an ice blade through the dragon's tongue. Jon reached them. Longclaw burned in his hand. Not orange. Not red. White dot eye. Ember's blood had covered the Valyrian steel. Jon thrust through the dragon's broken teeth. The blade entered the Night King's chest. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. The Pale King looked at Jon. His eyes held no rage, only ancient surprise. Then, he broke. A crack raced across his face. Blue light poured from within. His body shattered into ice that vanished before striking the ground. Across Winterfell, the dead collapsed. The silence was enormous. Jon dropped Longclaw. Ember released a final breath. The fire inside him went out. His head settled beneath the heart tree. Jon pressed his forehead against the cold scales. The bond was gone. He had lived with Ember's presence for more than half his life. Even in sleep, even across miles, the dragon had been there. A warmth beneath thought, a second heartbeat. Now there was nothing. Jon did not hear Robb enter the Godswood. He did not hear Ned, Daenerys, Arya, or the soldiers gathering behind them. He heard only a boy's voice in an ancient cavern. What will you call him? Ember. Jon remained beside the dragon until dawn returned to the world. They buried no dragon. Ember's body was too large for any grave and too precious for carrion. Daenerys ordered the remains guarded until pyres could be built, but Drogon would not permit men near. For 3 days he lay beside the dead dragon. Rhaegar and Viserion circled Winterfell at dusk. Their cries carried over the Wolfswood, unanswered. On the 4th day, Daenerys approached with Jon. Drogon raised his head. Smoke escaped his nostrils. Jon had not ridden since the battle. The thought of a saddle turned his stomach. He knows, Daenerys said. What? That you were Embers. Jon placed a hand upon Drogon's snout. The black dragon allowed it. His mind did not open as Embers had. There was only a brief impression. Heat, grief, and recognition. Drogon stepped aside. They burned Ember beyond the Godswood. No ordinary flame could consume him. Drogon, Rhaegar, and Viserion lit the pyre together while thousands watched from Winterfell's walls. The fire burned for a day and a night. When it ended, black glass covered the earth. Jon collected one silver-edged scale from the ashes. Macon's surviving apprentice set it into Longclaw's pommel. A monument was raised beneath the heart tree. Not a statue of conquest, but a carved black wing folded around a direwolf. On the stone beneath, no titles were written, only a name. Ember. The dead had been defeated. The living resumed their quarrels before the ashes cooled. Cersei declared the reports from the north a lie invented by rebels and foreign invaders. She crowned herself after Tommen's death and ordered the gates of King's Landing sealed. Daenerys intended to attack at once. Jon opposed her. "She has wildfire beneath the city," Tyrion warned. "Catch is left by your father." "My father is dead," Daenerys said. "The wildfire is not. Drogon could destroy the Red Keep, but fire might ignite 500,000 people." Daenerys looked at Jon. "You spared Joffrey once. How many died because of it?" The question had haunted him. Joffrey's execution of prisoners. The battles fought in his name. The broken wedding. Villages burned by Lannister soldiers. "I do not know," Jon said. "Mercy has a cost. So does vengeance." She turned away. "Men excuse your restraint because you are a man who refuses crowns. They call mine weakness because I am a woman seeking one." Jon could not deny it. "What would you have me do?" she asked. "Wait until Cersei grows old." "No. Give the city a reason to open its gates." Sansa provided one. Ravens carried promises throughout the Crownlands, food for any district that surrendered, pardons for gold cloaks who laid down arms, protection for small folk, and trials for leaders rather than slaughter. Davos smuggled copies through Blackwater Bay. Tyrion contacted men he had known as Hand. Jaime entered the city alone. Cersei received him in the throne room. She had expected him to return as her champion. Instead, he told her the dead had truly come, and that the realm had survived only because those she called traitors fought together. "Ring the bells," he said. She ordered the mountain to kill him. Sandor Clegane intercepted the command. The brothers fought upon the steps while Jaime reached the bell tower. Gold cloaks turned against the queen. The city gates opened. Cersei fled beneath the Red Keep. She reached the wildfire vaults with a torch. Jaime found her there. No singer learned exactly what passed between them. He emerged alone before the bells began. Cersei Lannister died beneath the city she would have burned. Daenerys entered King's Landing without dragonfire. The Iron Throne remained. She stood before it with ash from old torches beneath her boots and banners of 3 dragons hanging from the walls. Drogon waited beyond the broken roof. Jon stood beside Robb, Ned, Sansa, Arya, Bran, Tyrion, Davos, Brienne, Jaime, Yara Greyjoy, Edmure Tully, Gendry Baratheon, and lords from every surviving kingdom. The throne looked smaller than the wars fought over it. "It is yours," Tyrion told Daenerys. Stannis had died during the long night, holding the eastern trench until the dead overwhelmed his men. His claim ended in snow. Tommen was dead. Cersei was dead. Jon had renounced his birthright repeatedly. Daenerys approached the throne. Drogon growled above. She touched one twisted blade. "Sit," Grey Worm said. She looked at Jon. "Will you challenge me?" "No." "Will your brother kneel?" Robb answered. "The North will not." Grey Worm's hand moved toward his spear. Daenerys raised one finger, stopping him. "The North benefited from my armies and dragons, and yours benefited from ours," Sansa said. "The Night King would have crossed every kingdom, which is why none should claim the victory alone." The Dragon Pit Council met 3 days later. Every region sent representatives. Some were hereditary lords. Others were knights, guild masters, septons, maesters, commanders, and chosen voices from cities that had suffered during the wars. The old order had not vanished. Men raised amid castles did not surrender power because a speech asked them. Yet too many great houses had fallen for the realm to pretend nothing had changed. Tyrion proposed a settlement. Daenerys would be crowned queen of 6 kingdoms, but the crown would no longer pass automatically through blood. Upon each ruler's death, a great council would choose the successor from candidates presented by the kingdoms. Taxes required consent from a council of regional delegates. Royal judgments could be appealed before appointed judges. The Night's Watch would become a northern guard funded by every realm, though the wall no longer divided the living from enemies. The North would remain independent under Robb Stark, bound to the southern kingdoms by defense and trade. The Iron Islands received similar rights of self-rule under Yara Greyjoy, though reaving remained forbidden. No one was fully satisfied. That was why the settlement endured. Before the vote, Lord Glover rose. "There is another candidate," he said. Jon closed his eyes. Whispers spread. Glover pointed toward him. Rhaegar's lawful son, the man whose dragon saved Lord Stark, broke the phrase and destroyed the king of the dead. Other voices joined. Some wanted Jon because of blood. Some because he did not want power. Some because they feared Daenerys' armies. Some because they feared her sex more than her dragons. Daenerys sat rigidly. Jon rose. He walked to the center of the pit. "My father was Rhaegar Targaryen," he said. "My mother was Lyanna Stark. Those truths were hidden to save my life." The council quieted. "I found a dragon beneath Winterfell when I was a boy. Men later said that proved the gods intended me to rule." He removed the silver-edged scale from Longclaw's pommel and held it where all could see. Ember never cared about crowns. He cared about the sky, his food, ghosts stealing his sleeping place. And the people I taught him were family. He died protecting memory from a creature that would have erased every name in this pit. Gabi. Jon looked toward Daenerys. She crossed the world, freed cities, lost friends, and brought armies north when she could have taken King's Landing first. Judge her choices. Bind her power with law. Remove her if she breaks those laws. But do not choose me because a dead prince fathered me, or because a dragon once answered my blood." He returned the scale to the sword. "I will not sit the Iron Throne." Lord Glover began to object. Jon raised his voice. "I will not." The words echoed through the ruins. Daenerys watched him for a long moment. Then she stood. "I accept the council's terms," she said. Tyrion exhaled. Grey Worm did not. Drogon roared above the city, but no buildings burned. Daenerys was crowned beneath the open sky. She wore no heavy circlet of jewels. Her crown was a narrow band of dark steel shaped into 3 wings. Robb placed a bronze crown of Winter Kings upon his own head weeks later at Winterfell. He married Jane again beneath the Heart Tree, this time before his family and lords. No Frey musicians attended. Ned refused every office offered to him. He returned to Winterfell and spent his remaining years teaching Rickon, advising Robb, and walking alone to Lyanna's tomb. He and Catelyn rebuilt something between them that was not the marriage they had known but was honest. Catelyn came to Jon before his departure for the gift. He had been granted lands near the wall, though he refused a castle. The free folk had begun building towns there. Sam became a maester and helped establish a school where wildling children studied beside northern ones. Catelyn found Jon in the Godswood. "I was cruel to you," she said. Jon had imagined hearing those words. They brought less satisfaction than expected. "You believed I threatened your children. You were a child." He waited. She looked toward Ember's monument. "I prayed once that you would become ill," she said. "When you did, I begged the gods to spare you. I promised I would ask Ned to call you Stark." Jon remembered none of it. "I broke that promise. Why tell me now? Because apologies that hide the ugliest truth." Only prettier lies. He considered her. "I cannot give you the years back," she said. "No. Can you forgive me?" Jon looked toward Winterfell's towers. "Not today." She accepted that. It was more mercy than a false forgiveness would have been. Arya left for the Sunset Sea. Before boarding, she gave Jon a dagger made from one of Ember's teeth. "For anyone who calls you Aegon," she said. Sansa remained Robb's chief advisor until she married no one and became Lady of Winterfell after Robb's first son inherited Riverrun through Jaime. Songs claimed a dozen princes courted her. Sansa claimed the songs invented 11. Bran traveled rarely. He became keeper of the realm's histories, though he refused the title of Three-Eyed Raven when singers used it. "I am Brandon Stark," he said. "That is enough." Rickon grew wild, loud, and loyal. He rode north with Jon more often than Ned permitted. Daenerys ruled for many years. Not peacefully. Peace was a word used by those who did not count smaller wars. There were rebellions, disputes, failed harvests, and lords who tested every limit placed upon the crown. She sometimes listened to Tyrion. She sometimes ignored him. She married no king, though rumors named lovers from Dorne to Braavos. She permitted no chains in the Six Kingdoms, and spent much of the royal treasury compensating slave merchants who had never legally owned the lives they sold. Drogon remained near her. Rhaegar nested in the mountains of the Vale. Viserion crossed the narrow sea, and was occasionally seen above ruined Valyria, pale wings moving through red smoke. Jon did not claim another dragon. He rode horses. For the first year, every gallop felt like crawling. He returned often to the cavern beneath Winterfell. The hidden door remained open. Steam still rose from the pools. The ash bed where Ember hatched had been left untouched. Ghost grew old there. The direwolf's white fur became rough, and his movements slowed, but his red eyes remained bright. He slept beside the pedestal while Jon read letters, sharpened Longclaw, or simply listened to water moving beneath stone. One winter evening, years after the long night, Ghost began scratching at the rear wall. Jon looked up. "What is it?" The direwolf scratched again. A section of rock had fallen from the ceiling, revealing a narrow hollow beyond. Warm air flowed from it. Jon lifted a lantern. He climbed through. The chamber beyond was not ancient. Claw marks scarred the floor. Black scales lay among broken bones and old bedding. Ember had used the place before they left Winterfell, perhaps while Jon flew south, perhaps during the long years of war when the dragon returned alone to the cavern of his birth. Ghost sniffed the darkness. Jon saw the first egg beneath a folded wing membrane, then the second, then the third. They were smaller than the egg he had found as a boy. All were black. Silver traced their scales. Dark red veins glimmered beneath the lantern. Jon knelt. He did not touch them at first. The world had barely survived the return of dragons. Another generation might become protectors, weapons, tyrants, or all three. Men would kill to possess them. Queens would claim them. Priests would build prophecies around their shells. Ghost rested his head upon Jon's knee. Jon placed one hand against the nearest egg. Warmth entered his palm. A heartbeat answered. Then another. Then a third. Jon closed his eyes. He remembered Ember rising over Winterfell, black wings carrying a bastard boy beyond every wall built to contain him. He remembered fire used in anger and withheld in mercy. He remembered that blood could wake a dragon but could not decide the purpose of its flame. When Jon opened his eyes, the eggs remained. Not crowns. Not destiny. Lives waiting to begin. He gathered them carefully into his cloak. Above, snow fell upon Winterfell. Beneath the castle, in the oldest dark of the north, 3 dragons dreamed.